Who would you approach if you were in a new community? What social connections are most important to you and why? And what do you understand about integration and social cohesion? These are some of the questions that my colleagues and I at the Institute for Global Health and Development at Queen Margaret University are trying to understand through our research with the refugee population group in Scotland and beyond. My name is Bryony Nesbit, and I'm a researcher with the Migration, Integration and Social Connections Research Group, part of the Psychosocial Wellbeing, Integration and Protection Cluster. A lot of our research focuses on refugee integration and how one's relationship with their social environment influences one's integration journey. So, social connections can help you build a sense of belonging and self-worth, give you an opportunity to share positive experiences, and provide emotional support and allow you to support others. Our emphasis on social connections in our research is drawn directly from a framework for understanding integration that also forms the core of the UK integration policy, which is the indicators of integration. This relational approach to integration focuses on the resources available to people through bonding, bridging, and linking relationships that conduce integration. The Indicators of Integration framework was developed to reflect that social connections are essential to integration, which our current research very much supports. The framework draws on social capital theory and models of social exclusion to elaborate the types of connections that are crucial to well-being. So these are bonds, and these are with people whom I share a sense of identity. So for emotional support and the sharing of local informal knowledge. Bridges, and these are the people whom I exchange resources with. So for access to services and exchange of resources beyond those available to people who are like me. And links, these are with the structures and governance of society at large, so for access to rights and contributing to shaping society. Our research tells us that while connectedness and so integration generally increases over time, this process is not necessarily linear. It can be disrupted, halted, or accelerated by the presence or absence of trusted relationships and life events, for example, COVID. Also, that integration is a two-way process, and that integration does not only sit with the refugee or asylum seeker to achieve, but needs to be enabled and facilitated by everybody in the community. So this could be individuals, services, or structures, to name a few. So now, how does one research social connectedness in relation to refugee and asylum seeker integration? Well, we use a variety of methods when collecting our research data, but most notably in relation to our social connections mapping tool methodology. So I'm just going to share my screen with you, if this works. There we go. So the social connections mapping tool methodology is aimed at gaining a closer understanding of the social relationships that people draw upon to promote their own well-being. The participatory assessment tool for mapping social connections is an approach developed by Queen Margaret University, which employs participatory activities to explore the various types and qualities of social resources that avail themselves to a participant group. The methodology uses hypothetical real-life problems to explore connections associated with those bridging, linking, and bonding of social capital and relational properties such as frequency and reciprocity. The methodology also invites participants to identify geographically where they would most likely find these resources, so at the household, neighbourhood, city, country, or global level. In this way, co-producing data that remains sensitive to the situatedness and specificity of communities or subcultures. A second stage of this methodology uses these generated connections to develop measures of connectedness, trust, and reciprocity for individual participants, as well as trust scores for those actors identified as resources by the participant group. The second stage of the methodology was then further developed in light of the COVID-19 pandemic to be a web application in the shape of a questionnaire that can be used remotely and independently or with the support of somebody, for example, a caseworker. Using the connections identified in the participatory workshops, the questionnaire focuses on people's recent contact with individuals and organisations, their levels of trust in these individuals and organisations, and if they've had the opportunity to offer help or support back to these individuals or organisations. The participatory research design and approach of the tool means that not only does it enable us to collect this information, but it can also provide participants with information and support directly relevant to them. So for the last couple of years, we've been working alongside partners to test the effectiveness of our social connections mapping tool questionnaire as a practical tool to help measure, assess and review refugee existing social connections and enhance casework delivery and integration planning. It focused on working closely with our partners on the ground to build on and share our collective learning on how best to embed the use of the social connections mapping tool questionnaire as a practical service delivery tool within existing project delivery models. So regular review and development and progress activities across our research led to significant redevelopments and improvements of the social connections mapping tool questionnaire, most notably around its unique ability to produce these visual maps of refugees' social connections, as you can see. These maps were redeveloped to now visually represent a wider range of data points pertaining to the relationship between people and their locally specific social connections conducive to integration. Having previously provided a visualization of connections trusted most by participants, and these are the ovals on this map outlined green, the maps were then redeveloped to also represent those connections that people trusted least, and these are the ovals outlined in red. You can also see from the map that there are blue ovals, and those are the ones that this person has had recent contact with. And the ones that are half yellow and half blue are the ones that this person has had the opportunity to reciprocate help. So these and many other improvements to the social connections mapping tool questionnaire were informed by what practitioners and individuals identified as most useful in a casework context. In this way, insights generated through ongoing social connections mapping tool data collection were improved and further tailored to service users and practitioners' needs. I'm just going to stop sharing, which I think I've done. So this was only a very small overview of the work that we've been doing over the last couple of years, but I hope that from what I presented to you, you were able to gauge a bit of an understanding of the potential of the social connections mapping tool methodology and how this can not only support research data collection, but also help with monitoring and evaluating individual progress and be used to inform those person-centered conversations relating to social connections and integration goals for refugees and asylum seekers. So to follow our work, please do feel free to check us out on the psychosocial wellbeing and integration protection cluster website, which is provided in the link below with our Twitter accounts and our LinkedIn accounts as well. And feel free to contact us if you have any questions. I hope that you enjoyed this episode of Science on the Sofa and do take care. Thank you very much.